Welcome to the Luke Coutinho Show, where we can learn to reimagine our lifestyle.
Lucas, it's so good to see you again. The last time we were together was in Dubai at the biohacking event, and I really enjoyed what you spoke about. There were a lot of people, respect to everyone, but I think when you came up on stage, you spoke common sense and you spoke it with authority and science. And that's what I really liked. You could back up everything you said, and a lot of things you spoke about actually stayed with me. And we've kind of embraced a lot of your thought process in our practice today with our patients who have cancer, our patients who come to us for various diseases. So thank you so much for being on our show and welcome to India, online in a virtual way. But uh, we have a great audience out there that's always eager to learn. And I love how you speak about nutraceuticals. You break it down in a scientific way with knowledge, with science, with experience. You're not just that second person on YouTube just selling supplements and telling people take a supplement. What I also love about you is you don't just talk about supplements. You encourage people to make lifestyle changes. You're always talking about recovery. You're talking about rest. You're talking about nutrition. And that's exactly what the world needs right now. A very holistic approach to health. So, Lucas, I'm fascinated with your journey, to naturopathy from, sports and the way you maintain yourself. I would love for you to take us through your journey from your start right up to why are you doing what you do right now. I love how you talk
Mm.
about hacking your biology, the right way, the scientific way, so that we can kind of flourish in our current lifestyles. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Well, thanks for having me, Luke. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to speak to your wonderful, massive audience, which I'd imagine is, yeah, like you said, very eager to learn. So, yeah, I mean, my mission is very simple. I want to share cutting edge health information to the masses. And my goal is to do that by showcasing unique and novel health information that you'll struggle to find on Google. And so my journey really started out actually trying to become a professional soccer player. So I was very much into my fitness from a very young age. Always had the dreams and aspirations of, going overseas, playing in the EPL, hopefully for Chelsea Football Club one day. Young childhood dreams. And then from there, Luke, look, I was very passionate about soccer. I dedicated pretty much my entire life to it. I, pretty much gave up everything for soccer training, soccer matches. And then, like, I somehow just fell in love with the whole idea of being able to, like, hijack and harness your biology and just manipulating your biology to improve athletic performance. In particular, for me, it was, being faster, feeling fitter, having better awareness on the soccer field, being more confident, having more energy, better recovery. So for me, I fell into the whole world of biohacking by my own endeavors to improve my own performance. It was all about what can I do? How do I eat? What supplements do I take? How should I optimize my sleep? What other biohacks can I implement to maximize my athletic performance? And then from there, I actually, whilst I was playing soccer, I actually decided to study naturopathy. So I enrolled myself into a 4-year degree. So that's a Bachelor of Health Science naturopathy degree. I ended up getting the top grades of my entire cohort because I just absolutely loved it. Very, very passionate. Just loved it so much. Ended up finishing the assignments before the lecturers even handed out the assignments because I was a bit of a geek. But then from there, I also got involved. After that, I got involved in like a startup, in a nootropics startup. We're the very first company in Australia to sell nootropics, which are cognitive enhancers, brain enhancers. You would know a lot about that. And now to this day, I'm showcasing this information on YouTube. My main focus right now is growing the YouTube channel. That's Boost Your Biology. I've got my own podcast, my own Instagram, and built out a big platform of just sheer volumes of amazing health content.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I see that passion in you. I heard it on stage in Dubai as well. And I like how, I like how you're taking an approach pillar wise. So in our field of integrative and lifestyle medicine, there are 4 pillars. We have nutrition at a cellular level. We have exercise and movement, which is, of course, holistic. It doesn't just focus on strength or cardio, it's flexibility, it's mobility, it's your VO2 max, everything together. Then we have sleep as a pillar, which is everything. Deep sleep. How can we get our non-REMs, our REMs in place so that the immune systems of our patients can get better, our athletes can recover better? We have a lot of the cricket team, we have a lot of the soccer team as well with us, and we're constantly navigating them through the difficulties of life. They're on flights, they're staying in hotels, so how do we kind of hack into their situations and try to optimize the best of their performance? And then we have emotional wellness and stress, which is connected with your cognitive health and everything else. So in your experience of biohacking biology, which is beautiful because I believe our biology is out there and a lot of people don't know how to use it, don't know how to optimize it. And in fact, we're doing things that actually limits our biology from helping us live our fullest lives. So if we have to start off with cellular nutrition, okay, as an expert in your field, what are your one or two top biohacks that you've learned and seen implemented with yourself, with your clients? So let's break it down pillar by pillar. Let's start off with cellular nutrition. Over to you. Yeah.
All right. This is a very important subject because, nutrition can become confusing to the average person when they're, looking at different health information online. I would say some of the biggest biggest needle movers here when it comes to nutrition, I'll talk about one key principle that I personally adhere to, plus what I also recommend to my clients and for pretty much everyone looking to maintain optimal health. Number one is to prioritize protein. Now, the reason I say that, and I think you probably can relate to this as well, probably share a similar viewpoint, but I'll share why I think this is useful, why I think this is important. Number one, the reason why I emphasize hitting, your recommended daily intake of protein, and for me personally, that's 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So, for example, I weigh 81 kilos. Multiply that by 2 is 162 grams of protein as a minimum per day. One of the reasons why I emphasize that is number one, protein is rich in amino acids, and these amino acids literally serve as the building block for the brain neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because if we are short on these amino acids, the body doesn't have enough supply, you are going to struggle to feel optimal, like mentally, like in terms of general happiness, motivation, and the whole spectrum of emotional capacity. Number two is because protein can help to stabilize blood sugar levels. Now, as someone who's half Lebanese, my dad's side has type 2 diabetes, and it's very much, obviously, some people say there's a huge genetic component, but I do believe lifestyle can very heavily, positively impact that. If we have a meal, let's say, Luke, we've got a meal that's like chicken, rice, and broccoli. One of the little biohacks that I implement myself is I'll always eat the protein portion first of the meal, and then I'll finish with the carbohydrates at the end. And the reason for that is because I have worn a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM device, which I know there's a company in India, I believe, is Ultra Human. They sell the CGM device. What I've seen from my own data is that when I eat in that particular order, it stabilizes my blood sugar response. And now your audience is probably thinking, why do I care about, what's the big deal? Why would I want to stabilize my blood sugar score? The reason for that is because number one, every time the blood sugar levels spike, it's creating micro amounts of damage to blood vessels, and it causes micro amounts of inflammation. And number two is that it helps to stabilize your general energy so that you don't feel tired 2 to 3 hours after eating the meal. So this is definitely one of the core principles that I try and encourage when it comes to nutrition. It's something that I enforce and I do believe has a pretty positive impact on not only how someone feels, but also having a look at their blood test results, which I'm also a big believer in, that we should be doing, routine blood work once or twice per year.
That's perfect. Since we're on the topic of protein, when it comes to whey protein shakes, I know there are good shakes and there are bad shakes, good quality and bad quality. So do you incorporate whey protein shakes in your personal diet and in the diet of your clients? Do you recommend it? I know protein from food would be way more superior, but can we use these as fillers in between the day, especially if you're traveling, you're unable to get 160 grams of protein that would require you to eat probably 4 meals a day or maybe 5. So do you use protein shakes personally? And can you talk about your experience and your research on protein shakes?
Absolutely. In the last 6 months, I have been integrating like a good quality whey protein powder. And I'd have maybe like 1 to 2 servings per day. Now, the reason for that is because I'm trying to hit that target, and it can be a little bit difficult for busy entrepreneurs like yourself, who are always on the go, traveling, creating content. I think whey protein can be very beneficial, and there's some pretty impressive clinical trials where they've, integrated whey protein shakes to support overall health and well-being, and it doesn't seem to negatively affect health at all. Like there doesn't seem to be many negative effects from whey protein, but there's a big point to remember that not all whey protein is created equal, and that some products are going to have really bad sweeteners, so like nasty sweeteners, and they might also contain certain thickeners or gums that may irritate the gut. And as you would also know, anything that sort of irritates the gut can also affect the brain cognition, because that gut-brain axis. So I'd say it's really important to make sure that as a consumer, if you're buying a whey protein, do your best, try and read the label, and the less ingredients, the better. If it's just maybe like 3 or 4 ingredients, that's okay. But if it's got a whole laundry list, just make sure you do your research.
Perfect. Thank you for that. You spoke a lot about testosterone, and that's something that, I think a lot of people realize later in life that they have lower levels, and that's why they're unable to build muscle. But testosterone's way beyond that. It's for our bone health, it's for cognitive function, it's for everything. So with your experience, what are the tips that you would give men out there, or even young teenagers, 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, to optimize testosterone? What are some of the things that we can do if we want to keep it natural? What are some of the things that we can do? And I'd love for you to explain the role of testosterone, because I know that's very important to you. So I would love for you to explain that as well. Yeah.
When most men think of testosterone, they probably think of just building muscle in the gym. But testosterone, as you also know, is actually the hormone of resilience and confidence. So men that have high levels of testosterone actually have better mental willpower, they have better resilience, they have better confidence. I'm really interested in how testosterone affects the brain and the neurobiological effects there. But also testosterone obviously has an important role in bone mineral density, building muscle, dropping body fat, improving overall athletic performance. Now, one pathway that I think a number of men, this is a free biohack from a number of men out there, is to, number one, make sure that they're not wearing underwear that's too tight. And in particular, not wearing polyester underwear, because what can happen is the polyester material causes electrostatic shock on the testes itself, and that can actually compromise testicular functioning and lead to lower levels of testosterone. In addition to that, if the testes are 2 degrees too warm, like when the temperature of the testes are slightly above core body temperature, this can affect testosterone production as well. So men need to make sure, one of the most powerful practices that I've seen with my clients through blood work, they've done blood work before and after, is actually applying an ice pack up against where their underwear sit, where their testicles hang. And that ice pack therapy, which is like 10 to 15 minutes, 3 times a day, I've seen guys do their blood work before and after, and their score has gone up by 20 to 30%, which is huge.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. If we actually go back into cultures, like let me start off with India. Men in India, originally parts of India, they wore something called a lungi, which was just a cloth tied around. Okay, and the testicles hang free. And a lot of cultures looked down on that, but you move towards the Middle East as well. In the traditional Arab dress that a man wears, there is no underwear. They have a cloth that wraps around them, and then you have the dress over because they believe that testicles should never really have to be contained. Of course, you're doing a workout, sports for protection's sake, you do that. But immediately after that, you're actually supposed to be without underwear or in boxers because that little change in heat can actually affect fertility of a man, the sperm quality, everything else, and even testosterone. Yeah, I was going to come to that question because I've been reading a lot about the icing of the testicles and its role in fertility and even testosterone. So I'm happy that you cleared that out right then. So that was one, testosterone. What's the second best way for us to optimize testosterone, especially since men are naturally going to kind of waste muscle as they start to age?
Number two, I would say that really moves the needle is heavy resistance training or heavy sort of weight training. Now, that can also be tied in with a hybrid of like high intensity exercise. Now, obviously, both forms of exercise are going to be important. Low intensity, even going for a walk is still very beneficial for your health. But if we're really trying to optimize and really focusing on let's try and get this guy's testosterone as high as possible naturally, he needs to be doing at least 3 to 5 sessions a week of very high intensity, weight training. That can be squatting, deadlifting, bench press, chin-ups, compound movements that use the full body. When the body is recruiting these large muscle groups and it's, we're breaking down muscle tissue, the body responds to that metabolic breakdown by releasing testosterone into the blood to build muscle. It's there. It's a response. It's an adaptive response by the body as a result of, breakdown of muscle tissue and to accelerate recovery. So I think really important for guys to try not to do very long duration, like cardiovascular training. So let's say 1 to 2 hours of just running nonstop on a treadmill. That is going to raise cortisol. That is going to increase your stress hormones, put more damage on the body, and actually lowers testosterone. So very ultra endurance activities is actually not good.
Right. And what about sleep and testosterone? Explain the relation between that, please.
Absolutely. So sleep is the cornerstone of optimal health. And if we look at the impact of how sleep can affect some hormones, in particular, if we look at how it affects testosterone, we've seen studies where men that sleep 6.5 hours per night continuously for up to a week, they actually see a drop in testosterone by as much as 18%. So this is a very significant decline in testosterone levels that results from, like, it occurs because we're not entering into that deep sleep phase. And bear in mind, this can also occur if an individual has what we call fragmented sleep, which is where they're waking up, they're getting those micro awakenings throughout the nighttime. That's also going to have a negative effect on testosterone and growth hormone.
So the deeper the sleep, the better chances we have to optimize our hormones as well. And that will tie in with your muscle recovery, your muscle growth, and all of that as well. Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Will protein help with testosterone as well, or will it work indirectly? Because we're breaking down muscle and we have the right nutrients and amino acids to feed it. We're able to build that muscle. And because we hold more muscle, would we hold more testosterone in our body as well?
Yeah, so there's a nice correlation there. So protein is going to help to rebuild and regenerate muscle tissue. The more muscle tissue that the body holds onto, number one, the longer the person will live, because muscle mass is an important marker of longevity, and
Mhm.
muscle function deteriorates with age. So if we can maintain good grip strength, like this is an important metric for aging. So I would say if we look at ways to, let's say an individual is like, all right, Lucas, like teach me how to optimize my sleep. Like what can I do to really supercharge my deep sleep? Well, without a doubt, we cannot underestimate the impact of light exposure. Now, you've probably also had a discussion with your audience about this before. Maybe you've had another guest talk about this, but what I'll share here is that light exposure, uh, in particular, first thing in the morning, the best thing to do is to go outside and expose your body to the sun. Exposing the body to the sun will help to improve general hormonal secretions and also help with sleep that night, because it's going to help with increasing melatonin. And so one thing I want to also prioritize for people listening is after 6, 7, 8 p.m. at night, you really should be eliminating all blue light, wearing these blue light blocking glasses. They are the best things to improve your overall health. And, I've seen improvements in deep sleep following the use of, blue light blockers.
No, absolutely. I support you in that one because there was a lot of mixed science around this. And I figured out like, hey, we can keep hiding behind science or we could try it ourselves. And once you start using blue blockers, your deep sleep increases. The way you fall asleep is so much more quicker than when you're exposed to your iPad or your gadgets and then you're trying to sleep. You may still sleep because you're tired, but it's like you said, fragmented sleep. So I'm a huge fan of blue blockers because it's just simple common sense. Cuts out blue light, but hey, we can still be awake. We can still maybe watch a little television, but do it the right way. And that definitely works for me and a lot of our patients, just the use of blue blockers. Even on long flights, like a Mumbai to New York is about 16 hours. You're changing time zones. You're looking at an LED screen or little lights in the aircraft. But if you have your blue blockers on, according to the time cycle that you're now approaching, your deep sleep is just unbelievably fantastic. So thank you for that. So we covered sleep. What about your biohacking tips when it comes to stress and the brain?
Yeah, this is a great subject. I mean, we're all faced with micro amounts of stress on a daily basis. And I would say if we're looking at ways to counteract the impact of stress, um, there are a few nutraceuticals and botanicals that can have a really potent effect on shielding the brain from stress. And what I mean by that is the main stress hormone that we as humans produce is cortisol. Cortisol is a glucocorticoid produced by the adrenal glands, and everyone listening to this podcast is producing a small amount of cortisol. If not, they would be dead because cortisol is so important for general health. Now, if we want to shield the body from excess amounts of cortisol, and this is, if you want to look at a particular patient that might have high cortisol, usually they'll present as excess abdominal fat. They'll have low muscle mass. They'll have their eyes are sort of bulging out a little bit. They get that Cushing's disease type symptomology. If we want to really shield the body from stress and lower cortisol, one of my favorite amino acids to do this is actually the amino acid taurine.
Mm-hmm.
Taurine is abundant in seafood, in animal meats, and it's actually extremely potent. It has a very strong anti-stress action on the central nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the reasons why I actually personally take 5 grams of taurine every single day. And if people are wondering, what else does taurine do in the body? Well, taurine actually literally has been documented in lots of animal studies to actually extend lifespan. It actually has anti-aging properties. We call it like a geroprotector. Now, taurine, alongside, even if we stack that with magnesium, most of your audience probably uses like a magnesium supplement. Magnesium at high doses has an anti-cortisol, anti-stress effect. And then we can also use it with another amino acid called glycine. Now, glycine is abundant in bone broth, and it's it also possesses a pretty potent effect on lowering cortisol. So I'd say between magnesium, glycine, and taurine, these three have very minimal side effects, so very good safety profile. They can be used long term because they have an anti-aging, good effect on the body. And then they also have all these other metabolic health benefits beyond just stress. They also help with gut health, kidney health, brain health, joint health. So these would be my top three anti-stress compounds.
No, that's amazing you speak about taurine, because we use that for women, getting into a difficult menopause. So what's going to happen in a woman who's going through menopause? There's going to be potential bone loss. There's a fluctuation of hormones, the hot flushes, stress levels, because their body's physically changing. So we actually use anywhere between 3 mg to 5 mg of creatine and taurine together, because
Wow.
taurine has that effect on the brain, and there's elevated cortisol when their hormones are changing, and of course because of the stress they're going through, which doesn't really work for their progesterone and estrogen levels. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of taurine. In India, of course, we'll try to use the supplement because people are vegetarian, mostly vegetarian. People who eat animal protein can get it out of that, or we will supplement it. We'll also use it for our rehab patients who are coming out of accidents that have kind of damaged their bodies and cognitive health. We will use taurine anywhere between 3 to 5 grams, like you mentioned. So those are my favorite as well. Magnesium, of course. I would love for you to talk about creatine, because for the longest time, people were so scared about it. Today, we're using it for rehab patients. We're using it in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's as well. Small dosages of about 3. And then, of course, we're using it where people are experiencing muscle wasting. We're using it for some of our chemotherapy patients when they're in the building phase, because they have a lot of muscle wasting as well, and it's working beautifully. I would love for you to talk about creatine and its use in your field of medicine as well.
So creatine, when we look at creatine, usually most of the research is done on creatine monohydrate. Now, creatine is possibly the most studied sports supplement in the world. It has a number of extremely impressive studies relating to athletic performance. Now, if we zoom out and we look at how creatine can affect the general person, looking at general, if they're not looking at it from a sports supplement perspective, it can actually benefit the general population. And I also mean it can even benefit people over the age of 60, 70, and 80. It's actually a very powerful supplement to increase the body's abundance of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. By building more ATP, we're actually literally creating more of the body's energy currency. It means that it's like having more money in the bank. You have more material to draw upon to create opportunities and to create metabolic processes. So if we look at creatine, even dosages as low as 1 to 2 grams per day can confer neurological benefits and help with general memory, executive functioning, attention, concentration. And some of the myths that surround creatine, and this was probably about 5 to 10 years ago, maybe, they were looking at how creatine might affect the kidneys. That has been debunked. It's actually very safe, provided that the individual doesn't have any pre-existing kidney issues. And if they're hydrating, one of the side effects of creatine is that they might need to drink more water because it holds water in the body. So making sure they're drinking plenty of not tap water, it has to be high quality filtered water.
Great. No, thanks for talking about that. I want to talk about ashwagandha as well, because you've done a lot of research in that. And, we always try to educate people. It's not for everyone. In traditional Ayurveda, ashwagandha is given according to your energies. It's given according to your, Ayurveda has a body composition. It depends on whether you have too much of, if I put it in this way, too much of energy, too much of heat, too much of, it's basically given based on your body composition. And today it's made into a nutraceutical and everyone takes it. And we've seen some people, they take it for a while and then they stop it and they have the numbing effect, the blunting effect. They feel completely, like, hey, what's going on? maybe I need to start it again, or maybe I need more caffeine, or we see this happening. And we see ashwagandha work beautifully for a lot of people. It helps them with their sleep, their temper, a lot of other things, which makes it easier for them to get healthy. I would love for you to talk about your research on ashwagandha and how we should use it effectively. What should we look out for to see if it's suiting us or if it's not?
So this effect that you're referring to with ashwagandha is something that I popularized about probably 4 years ago now, which was the side effect that was just starting to become more known, which is the anhedonia, or the blunting of the pleasure response. I studied herbal medicine as well, and I love herbs. Like, I love them, and I researched them, and I just enjoy learning about the science and all that. If we look at ashwagandha, it's classified as an adaptogen, but it's more of it's a very potent anti-stress compound. It's an anti-stress herb, right? It has very potent GABA effects, which means it calms the brain. It will calm the nervous system, and it will lower cortisol, and it actually will increase testosterone. There's human clinical studies demonstrating that. Now, what happens is, unfortunately, for some individuals who are very sensitive, like you said, there's different body types. Some individuals who take ashwagandha actually, whilst they're on the supplement, even at dosages as low as 300 milligrams, they can experience this blunting of the pleasure response. And I've been on the hunt to try and find a way to overcome, or find a cure for this, because Luke, I get the messages every single day from people who say like they've stopped ashwagandha, but they still don't feel the same. And this same side effect that they're talking about, I hear from people who take SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So it makes me wonder, what is the similarity between an SSRI and ashwagandha? Well, they actually both work on the serotonin system. And what it does is it causes desensitization of the 5-HT1A serotonin receptor. And it's very, very, very difficult to then all of a sudden resensitize that receptor. So yeah, it's an important subject.
Yeah, but you bring up a very important piece for us to reflect on, because a lot of people on these SSRIs are also taking a mix of adaptogens, and we don't know if they're going to work well together or it's actually going to make it worse, because they're hitting the same pathway just in different ways. So I think it's also always important for people to discuss this with their doctors about what they're taking on the side. Because I know a lot of people, like you actually said, it has a similar pathway, and a lot of people have gotten off their SSRIs completely by taking ashwagandha. It's working beautifully for them. But I guess there's still research and science that has to come out to kind of, decide how to use this in the most effective way, because it is working. What are your other favorite supplements based on the problems that you see in the world today? People are stressed out. People are looking for shortcuts and quick fixes. What are some of the supplements that you think we can explore for better cognitive health? Because most people out there are burning out in their brain every single day. And that's a huge concern when it comes to their 60s and 70s. And we can see that in the statistics of dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, correlated with sleep deprivation. So you spoke about your interest in neurotropics and all of that for cognitive health. I would love for you to take us through the current research that you're seeing, and what are some of these supplements that we can actually start exploring, given the fact that we may not be able to control the situations around us.
So interestingly, when it comes to nootropics, some compounds that I've really gravitated towards personally, and what I've also recommended to clients, another one is actually another amino acid. Now, it's funny how I keep on coming back to these amino acids, but they can be very...
everything. Amino acids are everything for every cell of the body. So that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at one essential amino acid, one that doesn't really get much attention, but I actually do use it quite a lot myself. And I always notice benefits in terms of focus, concentration, and general alertness and willpower, is actually the amino acid L-phenylalanine. Now, L-phenylalanine is basically acting as a precursor, which means as a building substrate to create the neurotransmitter dopamine. But also it will go down another pathway that no one really talks about. It can actually go down the PEA pathway, which is the phenethylamine pathway. So it goes one or two ways. Now, this phenethylamine pathway is actually the same pathway that gets activated when we eat chocolate. And this is one of the reasons why people feel so good after they eat chocolate. I mean, I feel awesome when I eat chocolate, dark chocolate, or even milk chocolate. I feel awesome mood-wise. Like I feel, just in a happier mood and more pleasant to be around and excited and enthusiastic about life.
Mm-hmm.
Phenylalanine at a dosage between 500 milligrams to about 2,000 milligrams away from food and away from all supplements, so away from all other interfering factors. Some of that can go down that PEA pathway, and it can provide an individual with more energy, a sense of more energy, more alertness, and more general arousal. And for me personally, for someone who's like responding to emails, developing content, creating podcasts, and doing all that, I need that level of energy. And the amino acid L-phenylalanine can help to elicit that effect. And I haven't really seen any personally not noticed any side effects, and it has a pretty good safety profile. So yeah, big fan of that particular amino acid.
Is that also found in any particular foods naturally?
Yep. So eggs, chicken, seafood, it's ubiquitous, really. Even nuts and seeds contain it. Hemp seeds. Yeah, it's very, very easy to find.
Awesome. Lucas, thank you so much. Why don't you take me through your day, a day in your life? I mean, from the time I met you in Dubai, you're still like super, super fit. And no matter how much you travel, you always make that time for your workout. So take us through your daily routine. What do you do for exercise? Your food, your sleep? How do you manage stress levels, considering everything that you're going through right now? Would love for you to share that.
Well, recently, I mean, what I used to do was I would wake up in the morning, obviously go outside, get some sunlight exposure, but then I'd come back inside, and instead of just coming back and sitting down on a desk to respond to emails and get my work done, I actually have a treadmill desk. So I've got a walking treadmill desk, and I was aiming to hit 10,000 steps before I would eat my first meal. So that usually takes me to about 9:30, 10 a.m. Break that fast, have a high protein, high fat meal, come back, and then I would get more work in. Then in the afternoon, I would head to the gym. And so what I've been doing recently is I've actually been using the assault bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually been doing it every single day now for the past 6 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm doing about 18, it's literally 18 minutes and it's 18 minutes and 30 seconds. I've got a particular type of workout, and my heart rate I'm basically just trying to build up my absolute VO2, my VO2 max. And that workout there is having a very positive effect on mental clarity, mood, body composition. And I'm someone who definitely does not hold back on carbohydrates. Like I pretty much whatever, like I'm pretty I don't hold back, because I know that I'm going to burn it off anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, at the moment I'm doing that HIIT training in the morning on the assault bike, and then followed by weights, and I'm doing that about 6 days, pretty much like 6 days a week.
Awesome. And how many hours of sleep do you get at night?
I'm aiming for around 7.5 hours.
That works for you? Do you feel rested? Do you feel like it's helping you with your recovery, considering you have a very strenuous workout?
Yeah, I feel sometimes I find when I'm like, when my energy is actually lower, I need more sleep. So for example, if I'm sleeping 8.5 hours, that's usually when I know something is not right. And I have seen on my blood test results, when I was sleeping more than 8 hours per night, that's actually when I was low in iron. So I made that correlation there.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's amazing. Now, Lucas, thank you so much for this. I definitely want to do another session with you where we go down into particular nutraceuticals based on your research, and we talk about all of that again. So before we end today's session, if like the whole world was watching you right now, what message would you leave them with? Considering you're seeing so much of sickness around you, disease, as well as people optimizing their health, what's the message that you would love to leave to everyone watching you today?
I would say that self-awareness is really going to do you many benefits in terms of optimizing your health. The reason I say that is because if you have a good level of self-awareness, you're able to track and monitor these different health interventions and these different health hacks. And you'll be able to tell whether or not they're actually having a positive effect on you or a negative effect. For example, ashwagandha. Some people might think that's always going to have a positive effect, but if you have that level of self-awareness, then you will be able to know whether or not it's having a positive or negative effect. So I think without getting too like orthorexic, try and keep a tally or some sort of diary of how you're feeling.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Lucas. This has been amazing, and we look forward to having you on the next show as well. And I look forward to seeing you in Melbourne really soon, or Dubai before that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the invite, Luke. It was a pleasure listening to you speak in Dubai. You were definitely a standout speaker there. So I really appreciate the experience.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for more. We're going to continue our journey, learning, sharing, and evolving.